And oops, and I'm switching between screens here. Oh, and then it announced it even. So very good. Thank you. Now we're live and recorded. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Grand Marais Public Library to order on this Thursday, April 22nd at 5:01 p.m. We'll do a roll call for formalities. I'll just go around the screen. Kevin?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
And Dave is here as well. We also have joining us Helen. And then we have both Amanda and Kristen with us as well. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And at this point, I would ask if there's any adjustments to the agenda.
There is one error in there. When it gives the date of the next library meeting, it gives it in 2020 instead of 2021.
Good catch. Thank you. And Michael, did you have something as well?
Yeah, so there were a couple of items that I wanted to pull from the consent agenda for further discussion. Both of those are bills. One is from March 24th for Two Dogs on the Web, and the other is for, I believe, so if we could put those into an agenda later on, maybe after committee reports or something like that.
Could you repeat the second one? I'm sorry.
So yeah, the second one was, I believe, on the April 7th, and it was Boise State.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can pull those two bills from the consent. Any other adjustments to the agenda? I hear no more, I see no more, and so I would entertain a motion to approve the amended, or the agenda with the amendments to the consent agenda.
I would so move.
Thank you, Mr. Michael. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll do a roll call vote. Michael?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
And Dave is aye as well, approved unanimously. I guess we may as well talk about those bills right now, if that's all right with everyone. And so we had the Two Dogs on the Web and then the Boise one. Did you have some specific questions, or did you just want a little background on that, Michael?
Yeah, so the first one, Two Dogs on the Web, I know that they are going away. And so then I was just wondering what the plan was there. When does that contract or what have you end, and what's replacing it? And then with Boise State, just that was more a curiosity. Like I couldn't conceptualize why we're paying them money. So I just wanted to understand that.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Could you speak to that a little bit, please?
Sure, I can, yeah. So Two Dogs in the Web is going away, yes. Our contract ends May 1. And right now, the minimal work that they're doing with us is to help us move to our new site. What we ended up doing was moving, the library is going to be hosted by the same place as the city. And so I'm getting a lot of help from Patrick Knight to transition us to our new home. Good. Then with the Boise State University, my last library was in Haley, Idaho. And while I was there, I had the gift of a board putting me through a very excellent leadership development, essentially a supervisory, how to be a supervisor class through Boise State University's Center for Professional Development. And the program is such of good quality and was such of help to us there that I put Kristen through one of the classes. And we'll see one more of those coming up at the end of April. So that will be in the it will probably be in your first May bill pay.
Great, thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and thank you for the question too, Michael. It's really good to get clarity on that. And yeah, I saw later on in your report, Amanda, that Kristen had been taken or had taken the all-day class, and I really appreciate that training opportunity as well. So thank you for that. Any other questions from anyone with those items? Looks like not so much. So we can move on to the ALS liaison report. Welcome, Helen.
Thank you very much for letting me come again and jabber a bit. I am trying very hard to get to know the board members. I think it's good to know who is trying to advocate for our library, because I want that done, of course. And I think it's great. I'm glad to speak to each of you. I think now I've got a face for everybody, and maybe a position, and I'm really happy for that. Tonight I wanted to do something that is kind of retrospective, and I'm not sure where each of you is coming from in regard to why you chose being on the library board. I know Sue, and I know she's a good board member in general, so that I think there's certain skills that makes that very important. And I think that just meeting and knowing a little bit about Sarah and Kevin, I may be talking under you, and I apologize for that if I do, but I've asked Amanda if she would just simply pull up the the Arrowhead user services. It's on the web, and she's going, yes, thank you very much, Amanda. This is the place that I surveyed when I came on Arrowhead, and I wish I'd known about it earlier. And the fact that I didn't know about it is really my own fault, because there were people, I mean, even the previous Cook County representative is a good friend, and she came to our meeting at the invitation of Steve Harson, and gave us a lowdown, but I was too far back in the boonies to be able to really soak it, and for any of it to soak into how it fit me. So with this right here, Amanda, I don't have access to any of this, right? Oh, I do? Or do you? Amanda?
Controlling the screen. So what would you like me to click on for you?
Okay, well, first of all, just start with services. And then if you look down through here, it comes with a goodly number of things that you could just simply look at and see if you want to know anything about. And if you don't want to know anything about it, fine. And sometimes it's just good to, poke in the dark to find out what things are. Some of these things may not be over to the upper right hand, you see my ALS library account. That's where I go whenever I want to look up, find out how many books I have out and how many I have on hold, and which ones are due, or well, not which ones are due, but which ones they keep track of, whether I've turned them in and so forth, which is great. And that's very quick. But let's go to the library staff. And these are experiences or sources for library staff. And it is really great because, as Amanda was familiar with, a source for a class for Kristen, in here, if the weekly reader is one example that will give you things that learning experiences that can be used for short and long periods, some free, and sometimes cost. Last week on Friday, I personally took a 2-hour class from Bemidji. It was one that I paid for, but it was being conducted by an instructor that I was interested in. First of all, I have a background in education. It was Early Childhood Education Development Coalition. And he is a Native American, and I've read his books, and I was interested in hearing how he presented himself. And that, you might say, well, that's just like continuing education for me, and which it is, but it feeds into a lot of information that I want to know and that I'm trying to build on. And that came from the Weekly Reader. That's how I became familiar with it. Let's go up to the member libraries, and whenever you have, and just go to directory and click on that. What is that? Okay, then we have all of the libraries that I couldn't remember how many there were the other day when I last spoke, but then that, if we go back to that, member libraries, it will have all of the different groups of people independently that will show, because we do have like special libraries and the academic libraries. I mean, and they would be pulled out of that. And then about us, which is interesting. And this would be the policies and strategic plans. And when you go view those, it shows you that also the Arrowhead itself has those same sorts of things that you have in your huge books. And I have a huge book too, with and right now I'm working on the bylaws. I have taken the chairship of the governance, and we'll be going through the bylaws and the and through the policies, and also the budgeting. I'm on that board as well. Let's go to Contact Us. And this will tell you how to get there. And search. Could we see that? And then let's go back just to the Arrowhead and scroll down through this screen. And this shows you those things in a graphic. And then this one really does tell you, if on that very first page, when you come up to their website, if you scroll down to the bottom of it, it will tell you how the library system came about, the Arrow system came up. And I think those are things that you probably don't want to go through and try to search through it and decide on something that that you need to know. I think it's more just a browsing situation that you might find out. You might have questions, and you might be able to find something that you think will add to it. But you also might find questions. Very often when you go to the library, you find more questions than you do answers. And this might be a way of forming questions about things you'd like to know about. Just like if Gary hadn't asked about the particular item in the bills, then I wouldn't have known that Amanda had this leadership class, and that she was sharing that information with Kristen. And that to me shows that leadership style here for our library is trying to reinforce itself, and that's a significant thing to know as board members, whether you're a library board member or, for myself, the ALS representative. I think that those kinds of questions give you far more answers to things you didn't even know to ask the question of. And I do know that there are leadership, and Amanda keeps track of this sort of thing. There are all kinds of learning experiences. And I think there is even one for leadership for coming out of ALS and maybe from the state library. I have this, this is simply a state document, and it's an update from the state services. And there's something in here that is also of interest to me. Here's, I'll stick it up a bit, so can you, is it backwards? Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, there's something in here that I'm also interested in, and this, I didn't know I would be interested in it, but because it is from the state, it isn't restricted just to Cook County. It's not even restricted to our county group that's in the counties groups, the group that's in ALS. This also includes the whole state. And here I see Ramadan for educators. And I was really pulled to that because I don't really know very much about Ramadan. I mean, it's a day on the calendar. I mean, that's kind of where I am. And so the state has worked out or is offering an opportunity for people, whoever would be interested, to actually take a course or come into a series of lessons to learn something about Ramadan. And I'm going to read this to you, and it is the end of my presentation, so it won't be very long. Ramadan for educators. The month of Ramadan has begun, and with it a period of fasting and prayer for Muslims. Rukik Abdi, and excuse me because that's probably not near how her name is pronounced, or his, associate librarian at Hennepin County Library, has created an online course to help answer questions that educators may have about how students and their families observe this month. Welcome Ramadan for Educators consists of 22 short lessons introducing the purpose and practice of Ramadan and how to connect with students and families during this time. The course is free, login is required, and it's available now through the end of Ramadan, which is May the 11th, 2021. And that's the kind of thing that I like to do for my continuing education, is to find out about things that I don't have an opportunity to find out from my own physical contact with individuals. And thank you very much for listening. I would offer to answer any questions, and also if in the today or in the future, if you have any questions that you think I might be able to answer or point you to some sort of direction of helping you get settled in being a library board member, if it's new to you. And with that, I'll say thank you.
Well, thank you, Helen. And does the board have any questions for Helen, either about ALS or just maybe we don't know which questions to ask, right?
Well, maybe I could mention that if it isn't helpful or you think that I am taking up time, I want this to be open to the board too. Amanda gets a lot of information, and I know that when she gives the board report, she shares a lot of things, but she can't share everything. And you are individuals that may or may not have time for broadening yourself on your own. I say broadening, I don't mean that negatively. After all, as you well see, I'm someone who cannot learn enough, and I try to say it all at one time. And that's been that's been a part of me for as long as I've known me. Now, but if you want to discuss among yourselves as whether you think that having an ALS report is contributing to your time, then that would be quite all right with me. that I not come to your board meetings. Not that I probably still would come just as a public person, especially whenever you get to be public in an in-person way.
Well, thank you. I greatly value the ALS report and greatly value having you as a representative. And so I welcome your involvement every step of the way here, and think it's really good. There are really good resources that that you're helping us be aware of. So I think you'd be more than welcome. But I'll open up to the board if there's any dissent there. Please speak up. But time is precious. But we have a lot to learn, and you're bringing that to us. So thank you.
Yes, Helen, thank you so much. And really, I just feel so new. Like I'm just trying to wrap my arms around this. I mean, so I appreciate getting the information for sure. And I appreciate you coming. If you don't want to talk and you just want to show up, that's fine too. But I do like to hear what you have to say and share.
Well, thank you very much. I will plan to come. Our board, the LS board meets every other month, and I think if I have something new to say, it would come from that. But mostly what I have in regard to ALS right now is that we're having committee meetings, and we're having just going through the same sorts of things that you do with budget and with revising, or at least looking over policies that have been a while since they've been looked at and need to be, reviewed. And so it's best, I think, from my point of view, to come when there might be something new to bring to you, and I will, and I thank you. I'll say.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I wouldn't stay for your whole meeting tonight. I can watch you on the city, which I do, and so I can get caught up later. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, Dave.
Oh no, I was just going to say that's probably one of the things. I mean, whereas we all have endless amounts to learn, one of the things I would most appreciate is the updates from ALS and just what's hot, right?
Right,
what's going on, and I think I would most appreciate that. But anything you have to share is most welcome. So thank you.
I think that's the most valuable, because I think that the other parts you can search out for yourself as you use the library, and then if you do get to meet in a group and have some exchange of some of the things you've learned or some of the things you want to learn, I think that would be, it would be beneficial in that way. But I will, if I have something hot, Dave, I will certainly bring it.
Okay, thank you.
And Helen, before you go, I just wanted to follow up with one thing from before. I was wondering, I lost track of the Johnson bill that was going through the Senate, and I just wanted to. I assumed it was going to go through without a problem because we had support from the Republicans and the Democrats. So,
yeah. That hasn't. The last update on that is that it's all moving along. It doesn't mean that it's, that we're there, and we are not. There's nothing that the Arrowhead is discussing about it, but we did get an update. Well, I guess maybe it's been about 3 weeks or some time ago. But I will, if it goes through and you don't know it, I'll certainly let you know. Okay. Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you, Helen. All right. Well, that brings us down to the library director's report. Take it away, Amanda.
So traditionally, budget season starts now-ish in April with me collecting some material from City Hall, and then meeting with the Finance Committee, who should be David, Michael, and Kevin, I think. And What we need to do is stay on a schedule that allows us to have our budget presented to the county by August 16th. So historically, or traditionally, what we've done is we've started now in April. This gives the Finance Committee a chance to meet in May before our next meeting to bring a draft budget to the board for early review in May, and then to meet, the Finance Committee could meet again to make any changes in May to June. At the June board meeting, you would approve your chosen budget that would get submitted to the city. The city would have the chance to review the budget and question it or approve it. And then hopefully it would go straight over to the county by August 16. Does that seem like a reasonable schedule to keep?
Dave, you must have done a round of this before. Did this seem like it worked out all right before?
Yep, I think it's reasonable. And last year, even with COVID, we did it. And I think last year we pretty much just stayed the course, but we did increase COLAs. And I don't know what Amanda has, in mind for that situation. I anticipate something similar, but open to suggestions or ideas. So, but I think as far as the timeline is concerned, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. So then I will be reaching out to the three of you soon.
Is it going to be a doodle poll?
It can be a doodle poll,
No.
I'm sure.
I like doodle polls.
They seem efficient, but again, it doesn't have to be.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. The next thing is that just a quick check-in, since I'm talking about committees, that policy committee is waiting for me. We just got some information back from Arrowhead Library System that would answer some of my questions, but it was something I actually need to sort through a little more. So I haven't forgotten, and I will get with you also shortly. And then with that, just a brief check-in to say that on April 15th, we opened the front doors and changed some of our signage to encourage people to come inside. And prior to that, we had actually relaxed some of our restrictions to allow families to enter the building together. So on our first open day, we had full cooperation with mask compliance, very excited people back in the library. Our first customers were a mom and a 3-year-old who was very compliant with his mask wearing and learning while he was here. And we had about 30 people that first day. So
Wow.
it has been going really well, and we're really excited to see the families feel like they have their place back.
That is wonderful. So it's going well, and staff are feeling comfortable. You are feeling comfortable. It's very good, very good. Bravo.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We have, like I said, we have a cap at 12 people, 12 customers in the building at one time, and we haven't needed to use that restriction yet, which is also really nice because it's just walk up, walk in, and we've got a really nice setup in our lobby that causes people to come in and pause at the front door. That gives us that chance to let them know how our rules may have changed just because of COVID, so we get to talk to the families about who needs to be masked and sanitizing, and where to come if they have questions and all of that. So it's really nice.
Great. Any questions for Amanda?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Sarah just joined again too. Sarah, did you have any questions for Amanda before we move on, just about the reopening or anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. Great. Well, that's that for director's report. Thank you, Amanda. Moving on to the committee reports. As discussed, Financial Committee will get that scheduled, and the other two have no reports. Communications is the St. Paul and Minnesota Community Foundation Fund Statement. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Moving on to unfinished business. Board development trainings. I greatly enjoyed the I don't even know what you call it. What is that called? That was put out. I mean, it's a PDF, but it's an interactive PDF and a collage. Is that a collage?
Data visualization, maybe?
Data visualization. If that doesn't have a ring to it, I don't know what does. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I have not yet explored all of it fully, but probably my favorite was the misadventures videos. I thought those were really fun. I don't know if others had a chance to explore that data visualization very much, but really encourage you to. And there's a lot of resources there, and some from other states. Iowa, and was the misadventures from Wyoming, I believe. Yeah. So bravo on reaching out and collecting that. Are there specific options that we want to hone in on with that? Do board members feel a strong need? Just reviewing the minutes before, one of the requests from Kevin was reviewing just sexual harassment policies, and it sounded like there wasn't a real good option there, or a high quality option there specifically for library board trustees. But did the board have any other thoughts on particular directions with those?
I also found it very useful. Thank you for putting that together, Amanda. A lot of interesting stuff there. For me, I think it's most helpful just to have time to go in depth into the ones that are most interesting to me, and kind of explore it on my own, as opposed to a lot of it seemed like great independent work, I guess is where I'm headed.
Okay. And I think, Amanda, did you say it was Kristen put it together? Is that right?
She did.
Nice
Okay.
work, Kristen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
my question that I would have is just whether there's anything in there or that the trustees have come forward with on their own that you'd like coordinated and offered as a group training. Is there anything that you want from me to help you do a goal together? Or is it perhaps more like what Sarah's talking about, really good resources to work through on your own?
Yeah, from my perspective, I don't have further requests or requirements from you. I think there is a lot of information, and just even our own strategic plan, reviewing that and going through that in our own materials. There's a lot to go through as well. But those other resources that Kristen gathered can go into more depth and look at different avenues or different ways that other communities see things. But that's just my own perspective.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I feel like there's a lot of depth that we can get, and we obviously have lots of our own that we need to be focusing in on and going through. But it didn't. I mean, I suppose something may come, but there wasn't anything that was ringing for me that I thought we should all be doing together, at least not at this point. And again, I feel pretty new to this particular group. So.
I suspect as I go through them in more depth that there will be more of them. Like, as a group, we really should do blah, blah, blah. Or even some of those misadventures, I feel like will give, we should really be doing blah, blah, blah. Sue or Kevin, did you have any particular comment or wishes?
No, I think it's being covered fine. I enjoyed some of the stuff that I looked at, especially from Wyoming and your misadventures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not done looking at it all yet, but I think we could have a little more time with it.
Yep, there's a lot there. Okay, great. Well, thank you again, Kristen, for putting that together, and thank you, Amanda, for forwarding it on. It's about perfect for what we asked, I think. Aside from the sexual harassment training for library board trustees, but hey, if it's not out there, then you can't find it.
I think I made a mention that I did reach out to Cook County Higher Ed, and they'd be willing to
yes.
design something if they had some more parameters and more parameters and guidance from trustees too.
Good point. Thank you very much. That's another great resource. And higher ed kind of continually, they're always willing to do that. It's so impressive that if there's a topic or whatever that the community feels needs attention, that they're willing to put it together. So if we're feeling like that is something we really want to go for, I trust that they would do that. So is that something, Kevin, I guess you brought it up previously, is that something you think we should pursue a little more strongly at this point, or is there enough information now to kind of go through? What are your thoughts?
I've been reviewing the policy at the First Congregation and Church of Christ and realize how difficult really it is and how divisive it can be. The policy in general, for example, do you require background checks on everybody and that kind of stuff? I think it's less of a problem with library boards, but you have to have respect, and I think I'll just have to go through everything that Kristen's put out and see how it goes.
Okay.
I actually have
fair
mountains of stuff that I've gotten, from insurance companies and from different religious organizations. My second cousin was the bishop at the New Ulm Diocese who got caught up in the problems, and he has some insight, I think.
Oh,
See what we can do.
okay. Well, yeah, please share if particular information, useful trainings or information comes
Sure.
to you, and yeah.
Sure.
All right, great. Well, unless I think we covered that pretty well with unfinished business. New business is empty, and then we're down to the next library board meeting is Thursday, May 27th, and as pointed out, it is 2021. And unless there is anything else from board members, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sue. We have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Kevin?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Dave is aye as well. Well, unanimous approval to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Have
everyone.
a wonderful evening.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.